Welcome back to another episode of the Trailblazers Insider Podcast on Rip City Radio 620. I am Sean Highkin, the author of the Rose Garden Report newsletter, which you can subscribe to at rosegardenreport.com. Make sure you become a paid subscriber for all my written Blazer coverage, and check out all of our Blazers coverage across all platforms on Rip City Radio 620 and the iHeart app. Back for the second week in a row with Erik García Gundersen. Erik, it's been a little bit of an eventful week since the last time really more like week and a half since we last did one of these. We did our preseason predictions right before the season, and I just want to give us a pat on the back because I think both of us just had as one of our predictions that the day after opening night there was going to be a gambling scandal that the FBI would get involved in that would affect the team. So we really called it on that one.
Yeah, we did. We definitely called it. No one go check the tape. Just trust us. Just trust us.
We had that one.
Yeah, we definitely had that one on our 5 predictions. Both of us actually had that one. It was the only one that we had the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the Blazers now are. So do you have anything to really say about the Chauncey stuff? To me, it kind of just is what it is at this point.
I mean, it's just yeah, it is what it is. It's a crazy story. The FBI is involved. Read all the indictments. It's just kind of stunning, and it's just one of those, moments you'll never forget. In Blaze, I think that's the best. It's just it's one of those. There's some years where nothing happens, and then there's some weeks where years happen, and that's what one of those. That's what that was. That's what that was last week. It feels like it literally happened a week ago, and it feels like it could have been a year ago at this point. It just feels like even in the last 3-4 games since, it feels like even though the media and the conversation has not moved on. It feels like even just watching the Blazers, they're even further away from that than they were. It feels much longer than a week to where we are now.
Yeah, and having been with the team the last week, I just got back from Salt Lake City. I was on this 3-game road trip that they just had, and it's really remarkable to me just how little it even came up. Obviously, I mean, you were there too at the Golden State game on Friday, the day after the arrest and all of that went down. And even that soon after the fact, everybody, whether it be, new interim head coach Tiago Splitter to, any of the players that we talked to, front office staffers, whatever, everybody was already just kind of in the mode of, it is what it is. We just got to deal with it. And you got to move forward and got to control what we can control. And then they took care of business that night against the Warriors, and then they go on this 3-game road trip. They lose to the Clippers, but they were in that game. They easily could have won that game if they hadn't gone cold shooting in the fourth quarter. And then they beat the Lakers, and they almost blow a 22-point fourth quarter lead to Utah last night. But then they end up holding off and winning that game. So they're now 3-2 on the season, 2-1 on the road trip, and at least outwardly they seem pretty unaffected, or as unaffected as you can be by a scandal of the magnitude of this.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, I wrote it after the game on Blazer Banter, and Ramona Shelburne also wrote about it today on ESPN.com. I thought Matisse Thybulle was really I thought was really good in the Blazers locker room after the game. And he said something kind of like, no offense. He even said, it's no offense to you guys, but I think you guys think this is a way bigger deal. Obviously we didn't know anything. We don't know it as much as you do. I'm paraphrasing Matisse here. But the long and the short of it is you guys have zero idea how much stuff we deal with that no one ever hears about. Or we have bad, and not to this extent, but it's we all have bad days. We all have things Matisse is talking here for the team and the players. He's everyone has bad days. Everyone's got stuff going on at home. Everyone's got, a family issue or something like that. They've got to push to the side and come and go to work. And that was really insightful. Obviously this is, way more media coverage, way bigger deal. And I think Matisse, one of the things he said was this right now is doing a lot for the media, but it doesn't really do a lot for us because at the end of the day, we still have to do our jobs. And I thought, Erik Spoelstra also said something to this effect, is this league keeps going. things
Yeah.
keep moving, and no one's going to feel sorry for you. And losing guys, losing coaches, like it is, it is a cliche, but it's a cliche because that is the way they have to approach their jobs, or else, every little thing is going to paralyze them from doing their jobs. And I thought it was a really, pragmatic way to look at it. And like, I think what they've shown over the 3-game road trip when you were there, reflects that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so having watched all three of these games up close, I kind of, there were some things I saw that we can get into, but I'm curious what you saw, from watching the games at home, just in general.
I mean, intensity on the defensive end.
Yeah. Yep.
No matter who is out there, it really feels like 1 through 5 defensively are very connected. The help defense, when someone gets helped, there's a help, and then there's a helping the helper. Just a lot of like just not really giving up on plays, and then and the offensive rebounding. I mean, the pace, like the defense, offensive rebounding, pace, like all three of those things are the things that I see. And I bet, people in the market that have, watched a lot more of the older Blazers teams before, that were kind of when you and I were kids. But, when you
Right.
go look at the basketball references of like the Clyde, Cliff Robinson, Buck Williams, Jerome Kersey teams, like, at least statistically with the profile, this team feels a lot like that, with the fast pace, the offensive rebounding, the defense, like, and even the, fourth quarter offensive slowdowns when the pace isn't there, or they get a little bit tired. We saw that a little bit last night where the offense kind of goes away. And I think, half court offense is going to be something that I think this team's it's going to be a struggle all season long. And they definitely need Scoot back. They definitely need, but I think, Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, and Denny, all three of those guys have offensively really been carrying the team. It has felt like.
Yeah,
How about
my
you?
main takeaway so far from the first 5 games of the season is the defense is legit, and the offense is just as much of a liability as we thought it was going to be at times. Like they're gonna win some games that they shouldn't win because they just bother people so much on the defensive end, and they're gonna lose some games that they should win because in some of these late game situations, like if the team they were playing last night was a more talented team than Utah, or if they had blown that kind of lead against like the Lakers team that had Luka, or like you kind of saw them do that at the Minnesota game where like they blew a late lead with, and the other team had Anthony Edwards. So they probably would have lost that game last night if they weren't playing the Jazz. And that's just going to be something that they have to deal with. And I think the Scoot thing is going to help, but it's, that's not going to be like Scoot isn't like you need to have like a guy who's like as much as they want to talk about this like egalitarian offense and ball movement and all this stuff that Thiago Splitter is putting in. Sometimes you still got to have the guy that can just get a bucket at the end of the game, and I don't think they really have that right now.
No, and I think we looked into the season, and I think I was probably thinking, okay, Shaden's going to be that guy, and Shaden, he had a much better. Hasn't really happened. I mean, he had a much better game with a lower usage rate against Utah. He started to hit some threes, which was really encouraging. I don't think he's a 20% 3-point shooter. He's been in like the lower 30s for most of his career. But I think that, yeah, like, the vision was maybe if this team was going to have a guy that could do that stuff in the half court when the defense is set, that Shaden was going to be that guy. But I will say the one thing that I didn't really expect to see, and we've seen it in the first 5 games here, is how committed they are to that pace.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is
right. That's one of those things. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, I think that's going to help them manufacture points where they don't really have a lot of, even when other teams make baskets, they're taking it out and running immediately.
This is a lot of transition stuff. I saw a stat last night that in 4 out of their 5 games, they forced at least 20 turnovers on the other team. And the one that they didn't force 20 turnovers was opening night against Minnesota, and they forced 19 turnovers in that game. So it's like, basically the keys to their success are going to, as the roster currently is forcing turnovers and getting out in transition, winning the offensive rebounding battle, and getting to the free throw line. Those are kind of the three things that they're going to be able to hang their hats on. Everything else is just kind of like the shooting is always going to be something that they're at a disadvantage for. The defensive rebounding is something that they need to, get tightened up. And maybe that's also just a personnel thing because the only, actual center that they have that's really playable at this point is Donovan Clingan. And he obviously isn't going to play 48 minutes a game or even 30. So it's just, that small lineup that they've been playing where they have either Denny or Jeremy at the 5, that lineup does create a lot of issues for other teams, but they give up so much on the rebounding side of that.
Yeah, and I think Tiago's still like figuring out what he has there and who he has to play. We saw Reith finally get some time, and he's not a great rebounder per se, but he helps add some shooting, which will help create some space in the half court, help a guy like Denny, help a guy like Shaden and Jeremy getting the basket. And I think what you said about the free throws is also really important. Like, Shaden, for all of his struggles, he's been getting to the line at least 4 times a game. Jeremy, going into the Utah game, was getting 8 free throw attempts a game, and Denny was around 6. And when I looked at last year's stats, Denny was the only guy that had more than 4 free throw attempts per game last year. So that's a huge bump in, just manufacturing points. And also too, like with the pace this team plays at and how hard they play on defense, free throws gives them a chance to rest. Like,
that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
And I just thought of it in conversation with you, like that. I think that makes the free throws even more important because now, because we saw obviously the altitude played a part, but and they're they do training camp and they do all the running to get in good shape, but the way that they play is tiring.
Yeah, and that's why you've started to see, and this is, something that Chauncey talked about, obviously, when he was the head coach, and what Splitter has talked about since he's been the head coach, is that since they're playing at this faster pace, they want to play 10, 11 guys in the rotation and play guys shorter stints because they're going to get tired more, and that's why you're seeing some of the rotation pattern be what they are. It's a little bit less of an 8, 9-man rotation like these teams normally had. So we're all just, especially, with this coaching change happening so early in the season, we're just kind of seeing how Splitter is managing all of that. And, he's been able to adjust pretty quickly. There's been, last game. So Matisse Thybulle comes back from the hip injury, but he exits with a thumb injury pretty early in the game. And then Chris Murray, who's been in the rotation, was out last night with an illness. And he just plugged in WAP and Rayon Rupert, and both of them made some plays. Like, they just kind of have guys they can plug in.
It was encouraging to see Roops play productive minutes. I feel like we haven't seen much of that from his career, and so far. And it wasn't like amazing by any means, but hit a shot. Was working hard on defense, had some rebounds, was playing at the pace, and knew the operation. And I think that's the influence of, seeing Indiana and OKC go as far as they did. Like, those teams were playing 10, 11 guys, shorter rotations. And I think, the more you play at that pace, the more you're going to need it. But, it does seem like they're also, starting, if Matisse is out, hopefully Chris Murray's back soon, which, that's also been a thing. Before he got sick, I was like, wow, Chris Murray's doing stuff. That was a fun development.
Yeah, and the thing with him has always kind of been the shot, and he's been knocking down enough of those shots that, you can keep him on the floor. Do we have anything really to say about the early returns of Young Hansen, or is it just kind of what we expected? He's just not really ready yet.
He has, I think he hasn't been very ready. I mean, he has shown some good flashes. Like he finally got an in-game bucket the other day. I mean, his screening, that's the one thing that has been very good to see, that has been at the level or above that you'd want. I mean, when dudes run into him, they run into him and they hit him hard. Like he can, and because he just sets a good strong screen, and he's strong, so he's getting and I think the one thing that is standing out more in watching him, even in the limited minutes, is just how big he is. Like, he just looks. he just looks so much bigger than everybody on the court when he's out there. And like he was even making like Walker Kessler look small. And like I think that's the one thing is like an appreciation now for like obviously in summer league we saw him and then we've seen the tape against it from him in the CBA, but like the appreciation of really how much bigger he is than everybody else out there. And yeah, no, I think he's not ready. I think also too the pace that the Blazers are playing at, I think is harder on a guy like him who is still, he played a ton of minutes in China, but and they played a fast pace, but this is even faster than what they're doing with faster athletes.
I've found the approach to his minutes interesting because it's not like normally if there's like a rookie who's not really in the rotation, they'll just get in garbage time. But he hasn't really, he has obviously been playing in garbage time in some of the, like the Warriors game where they were blowing him out. And he did play. So like that will happen if they're in that situation. But they're basically giving him one shift in the first half for 4 or 5 minutes. Not garbage time. This is like actual, meaningful minutes. And they're giving him just kind of one shift and just seeing if he can handle it. And if he does anything, then they'll, keep him out there or put him back in the second half. And if he doesn't, then they'll just not do it. So it's kind of an interesting, I guess, sort of unorthodox approach to just kind of spoon feeding him, like putting him in every game just so that he can keep getting reps, but not keeping him in so long that, for a guy that, a team that's trying to win games right now, like, frankly, he's not really ready to help impact winning right now. So it's just been an interesting balance that they've had to strike with that.
It reminds me a little bit of Chauncey playing Shaedon in Shaedon's rookie year when they were trying to win games, early in that season. And they started 10-3 but Shaedon was playing these like kind of first quarter minutes and stuff like that. So like, kind of bringing him along and making him play consequential minutes, but not giving him too much or relying on him too much. And so, that's just the only time I can really remember a guy like that, like who's like very clearly very talented, but not quite ready to contribute, getting some minutes. That was just a recent thing that just popped into my head. What was Shaedon's rookie year? But no, not too much else to add there. Although I will say that his guard teammates, that one buck that like the Blake Wesley like navigating the screen, they do know that if they get him to screen for him, they're getting open. That's like the one thing that I think is like a tangible basketball benefit right now to having Young out there is his teammates know that if he sets a screen for them, they're going to get open and they're going to get a look. And so that I think is a positive. It's not just, it hasn't just been him out there, for the vibes. Like he's actually sometimes provided a tangible benefit.
A couple of other individual guys that I want to hit real quick, and then we got to get into the real stuff, which is the Cup. But Drew Holiday, totally plug and play, totally just everything that they thought they were going to get when they traded for him. That was just, and I think a thing that people kind of lose sight of is last season it looked like he kind of took a step back. He was starting to like fall off a little bit. That might have had more to do with him playing deep into June in the finals with the Celtics and then going and playing in the Olympics and not having a real offseason than him being washed as like it looked like he might be last year. He clearly is not washed right now.
No, it's like him and Denny and Jeremy, like a 3-way tie to me for their like for their best player. Like,
who's their best player? Yeah.
Like those three, like that's like those three guys have been great. Excuse me. And Drew's been awesome. And that's a great point I hadn't thought of, is like the June to right to the Olympics, playing big minutes on the Olympic team too. And then going into a season with a lot of pressure with, the target on your back. That like when you're the defending champion, that immediately increases the intensity of every single game. And, maybe, for the Blazers, that's just not the case. And he's really been cooking, and obviously, basically single-handedly won them the game last night at the free throw line.
And then Jeremy's the other one. Just this 6-man role has just been perfect for him. He's been awesome.
His 3-point shot wasn't a problem last year. It was everything.
That was the one thing that wasn't.
It was scoring inside the paint and defense not quite being the same as it was for most of his career. And those two things, he has been amazing on defense. He's picking up full court and doing all the things that everyone else is doing. And then on the offensive end, he's attacking the rim and getting into the paint and getting fouled a lot. And that's huge because that just makes him a more complete player. And I mean, we said this on the pod before the season. If this team's going to be good, Jeremy Grant's got to be good. Like, there's no way that they were going to come out of this. I know there's a lot of people that were, because of his contract and whatever, that were like, just bench him. It's like, no, he's clearly more talented than most of the guys on this team. It's just that, the role that he had and the shot diet that he had wasn't going to work. And, to his credit, he's attacking the rim more. It's been a lot less like post up, fade away, 2 dribbles from the mid range. Like, he still has that in the bag in a pinch, but that's not like the main attraction for the Jeremy Grant offensive experience. And it's been really good to see. And, down the stretch of the Laker game, down the stretch last night, Tiago's going with him in the fourth quarter, down the stretch of these games over Shaedon. So I think, I think that's big too. Like, sometimes like starting does really matter to guys, but at the same time, like who finishes the game also really matters. And I think the way Tiago has set that up and the way the team has been, approaching that, it also allows them to play the hot hand. And lately it's been Jeremy, and that's who they've been going to. So I think it's been great, and they're going to need Jeremy to keep playing like this if they're gonna, be in the mix for the play-in or a low-tier playoff spot. And definitely, if they want to go get that cup, Jeremy's got to play like this.
Got to talk. So that's a good segue because we got to talk about the cup. The cup starts tomorrow. Well, it'll start today when this is being uploaded. But the Blazers are in West Group C, which includes the Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets, San Antonio Spurs, and Houston Rockets. I would say that's probably, I was listening to our guys Ball earlier today, and they were saying that this might be the most talented group in the history of the Emirates NBA Cup. And I mean, it's a tough draw for these guys.
Yeah, it's definitely the group of death. And the East doesn't count because there's no group of death in the East. No one is that sick.
No.
There's no group that's that good top to bottom in the East because the East sucks. Yeah, this is a brutal group, brutal draw for the Blazers. But
are they cup risers?
Are they cup risers? I hope that they are. It would be so much fun for them to do a little cup run. I know that they like, you and I both respect the cup. I think you and I both, like, at least for me, I like that we have something resembling playoff intensity earlier in the season, something that matters. Like, the money does matter to these guys. That is an incentive, and they play harder. And like, you can't tell me, like, as someone who watches all 82 and all of the playoff games, you can't tell me as someone who's watched all these games for years that this isn't more intense than a regular season game and that this is just another game. I know that gets thrown out by a lot of people that think this is stupid or think it's a waste of time. It is better basketball. And so for me, I like that. And for a team like the Blazers that has 0 playoff experience, none of their guys, I mean, except for Drew, like Drew is like the only dude on this team, and Jeremy a little bit, but it's been a long time. Drew is the only dude on this team that plays real minutes that has played in the playoffs and knows what NBA highly important NBA games are like. And so the more they are able to win games, if they can get or taste a wild card spot and those games later in group play matter even more, I think the better it will be for the development of this team. And I keep on pointing at the Pacers. Do the Pacers trade for Pascal Siakam if Tyrese Halliburton doesn't go crazy in the NBA Cup and knock off the Bucks and the Celtics and all these really good contending teams? Do they even think about, hey, it's a good idea to trade for Pascal Siakam because we think we have a dude that can make a run without the NBA Cup? I don't think so. And so, like, that's my argument for the Cup, is that it matters, and it can also tell you something about the group that you have. And what their ceiling is or how good they can be. So that's the other argument for me on the Cup, is I think you learn a lot about your team if you take it seriously.
I'm just remembering last year, the first cup game against Minnesota, which was the game after the Memphis 45-point blowout where we thought they were going to fire Chauncey that week. And that game, the Blazers win, but it was like all this kind of extra strategic stuff where like Chris Finch was like challenging a play in order to get like try to wipe away 2 points for the point differential. It's like a whole different thing. It's like a different level of strategy. I think to me, the agenda here is the Blazers need the cup as a way to move forward from, everything that's gone on in the last couple of weeks. This is a thing that could really, show their resolve and show, how together they are in the wake of, everything that went down with Chauncey and all of that. Like, they can come together around the cup as opposed to just, oh, we got to come together and win these games at the start of November and just, just try to stick together. The cup kind of at this exact point in time with this team dealing with what they're dealing with right now, this gives them something in the short term to actually, set their sights on.
No, that's a great point. I hadn't considered is the timing of it. Yeah, that's a big factor that again, yeah, gives these guys something to work for a little bit. Something to look forward to, and the potential to kind of have a clean start, and also yeah, and test yourself and learn about it. And also the thing you mentioned about the point differential, it's fun. I think a guy like Denny, who has a lot of like Euro experience and international experience, where it's like, the point differential matters. Winning by a certain amount matters, or making a rally at the end to cut a lead from 25 to 12 matters. Because that's a tiebreaker in these cup games. And I think the NBA's done a good job of promoting it. I think it's good games. I think it's good for the league. And again, it helps bring out the best in the NBA, which I think the NBA could use right now.
I think Thiago Splitter's EuroLeague experience is also something that could come into play here. Is he gonna follow up his French League championship with Paris Basketball as the head coach with an Emirates NBA Cup championship? Who can say?
Who can say?
Who can say? There's a lot to consider there. So that's kind of where things are at right now. Crazy week. Chauncey stuff's crazy, but it is what it is. The team is dealing with it. Cup starts. You and I are both cup respecters. We'll find out soon if the Blazers are also cup respecters. And yeah, Denver tomorrow, and then pretty brutal schedule coming up. They've got Denver, Lakers, Oklahoma City, and then a 5-game road trip. So if they're at 500 at Thanksgiving, they're in great shape.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed that they are even having a winning record right now with their schedule the way it is. I mean, I think I saw like 8 of their first 13 games are against like projected playoff teams, and yeah, and that 5-game road trip is going to be tough. But I think maybe given everything that's gone on, like I think a little coming together, being together on the road, and kind of creating some of those road vibes also probably will help bring the group together, I think. So. As much as the Chauncey thing has been crazy, I do think there's a lot to look forward to here for the season for fans and with this team that, they play hard. Like Matisse was saying, is like, it makes you feel good when you buy a ticket that the team is working hard. And so they pride themselves on that. And whoever the coach is, they're going to give that. So and they've displayed that over the first week. So I think it's overall they've turned a negative into a positive.
Yeah, the vibes are good. Everybody in my life is excited about the team. I'm in a lot of different active group chats that are talking about how much fun the team is. So, as much as it's like a crazy situation that they're dealing with right now, it's, the vibes seem like they're pretty good. And with that, Erik, people know where to find you, but tell them where to find you.
Yeah, at Blazer Banter on X, the Everything app, at Erik G503 on Blue Sky, which Blue Sky's popping. Come hang out with us. We got a big Blazer contingent over on Blue Sky. It is fun. It is less toxic, but we're still talking ball. We're having a good time, so come over, hang out. Blazer Banter Substack. And yeah, hit me up over there, and we're talking ball all the time. And happy to come on, Sean, and talk a little bit of ball and instead of talking scandal for a change. It's been fun.
Yes, sir. Make sure again, Trailblazers Insider podcast, Trailblazers Insider Report on Rip City Radio, all of our Rip City Radio Blazers content. Check all of that out. Subscribe to the Rose Garden Report. I'll talk to you next week.